Good evening and welcome to tonight's U.S. Senate debate sponsored by the Billings Gazette and Montana State University Billings. I'm Steve Prosinski, editor of the Billings Gazette and moderator of tonight's forum. Many thanks to MSU Billings, Chancellor Ron Sexton and his fine staff for partnering with us and being the perfect host for this exchange of opinions and ideas from U.S. Senator Conrad Burns, a Republican from Billings, and State Senator John Tester, a Democrat from Big Sandy. Three veteran Montana reporters will ask tonight's questions. From left to right, Jim Gransberry is the Gazette's political and agricultural reporter. Jackie Yamanaka is news director of Yellowstone Public Radio. And Mike Stark covers natural resources and the environment for the Gazette. Yellowstone Public Radio and the Northern News Network are airing this debate live on radio. Community 7 TV is broadcasting live, and ABC 6 Fox 4 TV is taping this debate for replay in the days ahead. Our timekeeper is James Ellis, a freshman senator for the Associated Students of MSUB. James is a senior high graduate from Billings and is studying sociology and political science. Each candidate response will be limited to 1 minute, and our timer will help the candidates out. The yellow card means 15 seconds remain. Red card means stop. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. And before we go to the questions, we all ask that you hold your applause until after the closing comments. Interruptions for applause, hoots and hollers will eat into the time allotted for each candidate's valuable responses. We're all here to listen to them, not to each other. So please respect them and others gathered here by holding your applause until the debate has ended. Thank you. Now to the questions. We'll start with Mike Stark's question to Senator Burns, who will have a minute to respond. Then Senator Tester will have a minute, and then Senator Burns a minute for final response. Mike Stark.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
Senator Burns, the Chief Inspector of the Interior Department said last month that top officials at the agency have tolerated for years ethical lapses at senior levels, as well as cronyism and, quote, bureaucratic bungling of oil and gas leases that could cost the federal government billions of dollars. As chairman of the Senate Interior Appropriations Committee, do you agree with the inspector's assessment, and what specific steps would you pursue to correct those problems?
We are taking those steps now. As you know, that some folks with the bungling in the Gulf, most of those leases down there and deep water leases. We're dealing now between appropriations and the authorizing committee to make sure that those companies will pay royalties back into the Treasury. Now that was all done under the Clinton administration, and whenever they obtained those leases, there was no language requiring them to pay royalties. We are now in negotiations. Most of the companies have come forward and are willing to pay royalties and even back royalties on some of those leases.
I think the problem starts at the top with the Interior Department. I think what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now with cronyism, regardless whether it's in the Department of Interior or between the lobbyists and the legislative branch and senators, as Senator Burns knows about that, needs to stop. And bottom line is that we need to have people in Washington, D.C., whether it's in the bureaucracy or in elected government, that are responsible to the people and are folks that will respond for public interest, not personal interest. And quite frankly, it needs to start at the top. It needs to be cleaned out. And the cronyism needs to stop, and the special deals that are being cut need to also end.
Well, I think it shows that Mr. Tester's a little naive on this situation. The language was never put in to where they would, in deep water exploration in the Gulf, never was put in and by the Interior Department or any other department, unbeknownst to anybody. They noticed it later, after the leases had already been signed. And what we're trying to do is go back and recover some of that money, and it looks like we're going to get most of it recovered, that they will pay royalties, and some folks want the companies barred from bidding on any other leases until they participate in the back payment of those royalties.
And now a question from Jackie Yamanaka to Senator Tester.
Many voters are turned off by both of your campaigns, saying they're negative and dirty. Are you proud of your campaign? Would you defend it to your grandchildren?
I wanted to talk a little bit about the previous question before we get into this, Jackie, with my apologies. But I think cronyism is going on more than just in the Gulf. If you take a look at what's going on in Iraq right now with the cronyism with Halliburton and Bechtel, it tells me there needs to be a change in leadership in Washington, D.C. As far as my campaign, yes, I am proud of my campaign. We've got great staff. We've come forth with information on commercials that talk about what I stand for and who I am and where I've come from. And yes, I would. I would put my campaigns out and my ads, and I'm very proud of them, and I would not be afraid to tell my grandkids about them. In fact, my granddaughter watches them on occasion now.
Senator Burns, 1 minute response.
Well, we've never been burdened with the facts, and we've never been burdened with a lot of the truth. So what we do is explore the voting record and the record of the candidate, and that's what we have done. And we will continue to do that, because candidates usually don't like their voting records to be revealed. I'm proud of my voting record. I'm also very proud for the work that I've done in this county, in Yellowstone County. I was a commissioner here. And the work that we've done here, the dollars we brought to this county, the things we have done to improve the quality of life here in this institution. We changed the School of Technology to where we are training young people now for the jobs that are here, and we're going to continue to do that as in the coming months. I'm very proud of this county and what we're doing here.
Senator Tester, 1 minute.
I too like to explore voting records, and I like to point out what's transpired with relationships with lobbyists and taking more money than anybody else in Congress, more than 535, and that's for good reason. It's because Senator Burns has delivered for those lobbyists. Fact is, I'm also very proud of my voting record. I'm also very proud of what I've done for Yellowstone County, $9 million for bonding for addition onto the College of Technology, $72 million into the public education system here. I think those are all steps in the right direction for helping Yellowstone County and the state of Montana build their economy.
And now Jim Gransberry, a question to Senator Burns.
In recent years, much has been made of values and ethical standards as they pertain to politicians and the culture in Washington, D.C., which by your own description is 17 square miles of illogic. Please tell us specifically, what moral criteria do you use in judging your own personal and public words and actions and those of your staff?
Well, I tell you what, first of all, let's talk about staff. You hire and use people the best that you can get, and you trust them. You're not a micromanager. You don't manage them 24 hours a day. But nonetheless, everybody has to sign a book of ethics when they hire on into that office. Every one of them do. They know what's expected of them. Now myself, if you think it looks wrong, don't do it. And that's always been my motto and the way my philosophy. We do everything in the open. We like light bulbs and we like sunshine. We reported everything. Everything's on the web. Even our calendar and also our third-party trips. Everything and all of our agenda is on the web.
From a personal standpoint, I treat people how I like to be treated. I think in public service right now, it's critically important that we have honesty and people integrity and people who are back there working for the public good, not the personal good. You know, what's going on right now in Washington, D.C. in many cases is you get staff members that go to work for a senator or a congressperson, and then they quit and they go to work for a lobbying firm and they have access to special favors. That revolving door is going to stop with me. I put forth an ethics plan that says no more. If they work for me and they decide to go to work for a lobbying firm, they will not have access. That's the way it's going to be up front. I put forth an ethics plan that talks about a judicial audit from a Montana judge that I will not be accepting travel, meals, lodging from lobbyists. I think you just have to live by the highest ethical standard and set a solid example and live by it.